Showing up is a contact sport. Have you ever thought about that? My guess is you have felt it. And my guess is that you feel it every moment of every day. But let me tell you something else about showing up. It's not what you think. In fact, the truth about showing up, about how nature designed human beings to show up, is so different than what we're taught. And it's so different from the values of society today. And our lack of understanding about how nature designed human beings to show up is nothing short of the source of the disconnectedness that humans feel, the lack of meaning that we feel, the searching, the striving, the loneliness, a lot of the mental health issues, and a lot of our physical health issues. So I'm going to share with you just a little bit about the truth about showing up. You see, most of us think that we are individualized selves and that that's the main thing. So if there's a target with a bunch of circles, we're in the middle and that's ourself. But that's what I call a small s self. And it turns out it's only one out of three roles that human beings are in. We are individualized selves, yes, but we are also members of situations. And a situation's not what you think. I'm going to explain a little bit about what a situation truly is. We're also members of society. That's our third role in which we're designed to show up. You might say, well, what's the significance of this? And I'll say, well, think about how humans evolved. We've always been in these three roles, even when we were living in caves. Think about that. You wake up, you're in your cave. You're still an individual. There's a lot of rock around you and maybe some other people and maybe some sticks and things. So you're a member of a situation back then, but you're also a member of what we used to call a tribe. You're a member of what we now call society. So we've always been in those three roles. But think about how we used to live our three roles. It used to be that if the primary hunters in our tribe were hurt, maybe we didn't eat what we were accustomed to eating. We had to rely on what was there, what we had saved, maybe what some of the less skilled hunters ate. So when you think about it, our societal role as a member of a tribe back then impacted our nutrition. It impacted how energetic we felt. It impacted how healthy we felt. So our societal role back then played a much, much bigger part of our daily lives. Now, we can very much live as individualized selves, which is exclusively or so much more than we used to. We're only somewhat present within our situations. When I give speeches, I have my audience create a pie chart. And I say, make the slices of the pie how often you feel you are an individual self versus a situation member versus a societal member. And almost everyone puts a line straight down the middle and says, more than half the time, I'm just an individualized self. But I also try to be present in my meetings, let's say when I look into my child's eyes. And that gets maybe 25%. And then, the other 25% is kind of, I try not to, put waste into society and litter. And I try to drive an electric vehicle and things of that sort. But really, our societal role plays a much, much smaller part of our lives. But that's not how we're designed to show up. Now, the largest self is the one that's something indigenous peoples have known for a long time, and members Eastern religious contemplatives, people familiar with Buddhism and meditation. It's also the foundation of most religions. So this is the largest self, and what it does is it takes our self-focused mirror and it turns it outward, because life really isn't about us. It's not about the ego. It's not about achieving classic things like promotions and money and having a car that impresses our neighbors in a big house. Really, the largest self is the self that we're designed to be, far more interwoven within our tribe, far more like leaves on a tree with everyone else. So that We are not only the way we vote, and we are not only what we wear. We are human beings who are we're like drops in the ocean. We are all humans, and we're designed to treat others human to human. Now, I've layered this onto a continuum that I call the show up continuum. And I'm told that once people see it, they never forget it. 1, 2, 3. Level 1 is being barely there. This is when you're burned out, you're sick, you're there physically only. Level 2 is what most of us default to. It's a left hemispheric way of living where we're kind of just showing up. This is what happens to most of us every day. It's what we default to. We wake up, we turn off the alarm, we move through the motions, we brush our teeth, we look at our schedule. If we're feeling any kind of stress, be it tiredness, because maybe we didn't get that 8 hours of sleep, hungry, grumpy, stressed of any kind, we default to level 2, just showing up. And what that means is that the people around us are far more objects to be acted on. What do we want them to do? What control do we want to have over them? So level 2, just showing up, is what my 20 years of research shows 80% of us are doing 80% of the time. And it's a big source of our looking back and thinking, oh my goodness, why did I do that? Or that didn't go so well. Or leaving us feeling that the meaning that we're seeking in life just isn't there. Level 3, truly showing up. This is when we look back and we say to ourselves, that was really well done. It often comes from feeling connected with and feeling cared for. This is when the 2 of life becomes a with and becomes a for. This exists far more from the right hemisphere, and I'm going to explain this. A gentleman named Ian McGilchrist, psychiatrist out of Europe, wrote a number of books that really explain the difference between just showing up and truly showing up, although he doesn't use those terms for it. In the left hemisphere, we want to have action and control over things. We are living in the map, in an abstraction, in an assumption of what's going on, an assumption of how that person feels or what they think. We're much less living in the territory, which is real life. When we're in our right hemisphere, that is when we feel cared for. That is when we are truly with. And that is when, instead of looking at a colleague in a meeting, instead of thinking this person is really not going to respect my ideas, why are they always there? This is when we instead look at them and recall, I remember her telling me her son was sick. And then we say, hey, how's your son? And then the entire day is different. And then we show up differently because the world is showing up differently with, to, and for us. And this is my lovely daughter who doesn't know that I'm presenting. Thank you so much. It's a cookie. So this is an example of truly showing up. My 14-year-old just heated up a cookie and brought it to me because she didn't know right now that I'm recording a book talk for the book fest, and I love you so much. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So a vulnerable moment here. This was not planned. My daughter just got back from 9 months at a level 4 mental health treatment center in Missouri. She had to be sent away because she wasn't going to school and she was doing a lot of things that parents would find to be going on the wrong path. And she's only been home a month, and look what's happening here. And I have made tons of mistakes in life, just like every parent has. And I just want to let you know that the ideas of showing up have truly made a difference to the relationship that we have, so that she actually has a mother who shows up for her in the way that she needs. Not the way that my childhood taught me to show up, but the way that her childhood created a need for a mother to show up. The ideas are essentially to recognize that we're part of a flow system, and we are all interconnected. There is a reason that the relationships among the spiral arms of the Milky Way galaxy are the same relationship in the spiral of the DNA that's in our bodies, of the cochlea that's in our ears. We truly are designed by nature, and there is a model for how nature designed human beings to show up. I did my best to put it on the pages of this book, and it's very much here. And as part of it, it explains how we go from the red to the green of showing up just as a self with our mirror focused on us, which makes us miserable and anxious and stressed and unhealthy and unkind, and moves us toward noticing, being far more fully present. I call it attuning. And I explain deeply what it is viscerally, not just from a cognitive or intellectual perspective. I explain it viscerally in an embodied way, fully using not just all of our senses, but also our intuition, that sixth sense. And I use neuroscience, I use evolutionary biology, psychology, interpersonal neurobiology, all sorts of things. And then I explain how we move from noticing and tuning in to then feeling with and enacting care. And that is how we go from individualized self to truly situation member and societal member as nature designed. One last thing that I think is really important. If you leave this video with one thing, what I want to do is give you a very, very quick tool to use so that you can shift from your get it done, power over left hemisphere, which turns human beings into objects, right? To your right hemisphere, which is the one that cares and sways to the music. So here is the idea. You take your non-dominant hand, and with your dominant hand, you take 2 fingers and you just trace a 3. For level 3, truly showing up. But really, you can be tracing anything. The point is that you're now sensing in your palm what your fingers are doing, and you stay with it. And what you start to notice is your sensing system shifts. All of a sudden, your palm and its unbelievable ability to feel touch shows up for you. And as we feel it, we notice how incredible is it that we can sense the teeniest bit of pressure. And then maybe you also start to notice there's a temperature, and the temperature is different as you move your finger, maybe warm and less warm. And then you start to notice that there's a shape, and there's a depth, and there's almost a timbre to it. That's a phrase typically referring to a sound. But because our body is such an incredible sensing machine, even in our tactile sense of touch, we can sense a nuance that maybe we were originally taught only refers to sound. So we can marvel at how incredible our senses are. We are a sensing being. And what are we sensing? It's everything out there. And we are in this reverberative process of feeling and responding, hearing, seeing, tasting, sensing, trustworthy or not. And we're responding. That is our situational role. So I hope I've left you today with at least a little bit of a sense that maybe our self is not what we thought. There are 2 self roles, small s and big S. Our situation member role isn't really what we thought it was. There's a much deeper way to attune, to attend, to presence. And there's a much deeper way to live our societal member role. So 3 roles, you can live them far more deeply. You can let go of a lot of stress, and you can actually leave the legacy on this planet that you want to leave by understanding nature's model of how humans are designed to show up. If this has been impactful in any way, please be in touch. The book is out there if you want it. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you.